I'm not really going to test your patience, but essentially what is happening, and in fact, if you have been closely following the NHS system also, they have come up with this concept of digital academy. That means they're tying up with educational institutions so that the adoption of digital health is smooth throughout. India is a huge country. It's not really a country, it's a subcontinent. Most of the states are in size and population bigger than most of the European nations. And we have so many different concepts, different cultures, different language, different ways of living, lifestyle, diet. So with all those things, we have got a huge disparity in various things. So initially, I'm going to talk about some of the e-health initiatives, which I think most of you are aware of, so I'll go through it quickly. Standards, I think you are all aware of it, and some of the things have been said, so I'll just go through that very fast. But this capacity building part, somehow or other, I have a feeling that this is the most neglected part. We talk about change management, we talk about capacity building, but most often it's not a part of the policy. If you have keenly observed the slide that Gaurasunder showed for that National Resource Center of EHR standards, the very first part there is education and training. But that is somehow or other we tend to overlook. And we try to learn when we are aware that there's a need to learn. So I think yesterday someone was showing the slide. I think Dr. Ujjwala was doing it. So if you don't know what you don't know, then you don't seek to find it. And that is the biggest problem. And that is where I believe capacity building actually gains a much bigger role. The National Digital Health Authority is going to be set up very soon, so I'll just touch upon that. And this document, I don't know how many of you are familiar, this is a pretty old document, more than 15 years old. And this is the first document on IT infrastructure in health that was published. And there, if you see, right at the top, it's standards. So standards is definitely the most important thing. If you look at the two other corners, a legal framework, and like NDHA, and Milind is there after me, so he would say more about that. And the third pillar you can see is education. But somehow or other, again, as I said, education is the neglected one. If you look at the Digital India initiatives, the formal agenda which is there, this document is also available in the public domain. There are 9 pillars. Of them, the 5th is the e-Kranti, or the electronic delivery of services. Within that, if you see, for telehealth, online medical consultation. So initially, there was a 104 service that started almost 10 years back. That was supposed to start in a PPP mode, the state governments with some private players. But hardly 8 states have been able to really use it. So now a central facility is being thought of putting it, so that 104, wherever it's available in that state, it will be transferred there. For the others, it will go to the central line, and obviously it will be in that language. Then if you look at the other things for online medical records, in fact, I think we have had more talk on records right from the morning. It's a work in progress. Online medicine supply, I think e-Aushadhi, many of you are familiar with, but as Gaurasunder rightly pointed out, I mean, the biggest problem we have that we don't have our own drug database for India. It's not in the ideal way for digital health. And the last one, which was Dr. Ganapathi's question yesterday, Health Information Exchange, that is being planned. We are late by more than 2 years. By 2015, it was supposed to have been ready. But now the process is almost completed. I think a bidder has been selected and will be shortly formally given the order. So maybe in another 5-6 months, we'll have a Health Information Exchange, which we are calling the IIHIP, Integrated Health Information Platform. That's a joint project by the Ministry of IT and Ministry of Health. They had decided to have such a platform where you can host the standards compliant modules. I'll come back into it. And that will, here of course, I think the timeline is delayed, but I think we are going to do a very good job there, especially with all the people sitting here. I think each of you would be really playing a big role in taking that forward. Essentially, if you look at it, the identifier, that's the primary thing, and in India, I think it's going to be the Aadhaar. For the terminology and coding systems, ICD-11 is round the corner. Next year, it's going to be available. But that's going to have a more similarity with SNOMED City. Law also has a formal collaboration. Just to look at the other thing, which carrying forward Dr. Karanveer said that the logical way that SNOMED City is structured, there can be a lot of data mining, artificial intelligence, knowledge generation. And the best example for that is Google has actually done a formal tie-up with SNOMED City. So Google is hopeful because Google has got the maximum number of papers, publications in scholarly journals in AI all over the world, much more than any university anywhere is doing. And they also found that this is the way to go. So SNOMED City has recently formally got a collaboration with Google, and I think it's going to be a very useful thing. It's natural language processing, artificial intelligence, medical diagnosis, decision support, evidence-based decision support, all the things coming together. I think Microsoft is also doing a big thing. So yes, that is the way to go. Information exchange, of course, Naresh is here. It's the HL7 for clinical administrative data, diagram for imaging, and SNOMED City, of course, for this terminology part. For the structure, as you see, XML is basically now become the default thing. But we need platforms. So IIHIP, that is going to help in that. It will host all the sorts of standards compliant systems. Of course, integration will always remain a biggest challenge, but then we don't have to get the whole thing at one time. This is the second edition of the EHR standards that was published as late as December 2016. The first edition came out in August 2013 when India was still not a member of the then IHT SDO. Now it is SNOMED International. So India is a country member since March 2014. So in the EHR standards, the second edition, we have SNOMED City as an integral part. And as I said, SNOMED City is a very exciting thing. In fact, I am an international expert for the e-learning advisory group of SNOMED International, and I've been following it closely. And I come back to the same thing in other countries, various countries. The academic institutions are also taking a great lead. So the National Resource Centers, in collaboration with various academic institutes, they're actually going and developing SNOMED City in a much more user-friendly and country-friendly way. Coming back to the thing, and this is where I feel probably most of you have a big role to play. So the CIO or CMIO and the sort of thing who are having to deal with health information management. The Ministry of Health, they had brought out a model curriculum that was in 2015-16. And this talks about various levels. I mean, we don't have to give the same training to everyone. So it may have to be tailor-made according to the requirements. All the 5 fingers are not of the same size, so you don't really need to push down everything to everyone. So if you look at this, I was a member of this committee which formed this core curriculum. So in this, if you look at it, the basic idea is if you are doing a program like this, you have to have, what you'll learn is understand the basic management of health information, know evolution in health information management to present day practices, gain insight into applications of ICT in healthcare hospitals, gain basic knowledge on health data storage and retrieval, understand shifting of barriers in ICT usage in healthcare organized hospitals. This seems very simple, very obvious. I think everyone knows. But exactly how to do, and that's where the challenge lies, and that's what Gaur and Dr. Karanveer both talked upon, the implementation part. So if you look at it, it's the 9 core areas have been identified. of which the first, of course, is the information flow. I mean, how does the information flow? And I think yesterday also there were quite a few talks on that. So where exactly is health informatics? What's the role of health information technology and health information management, and how they together work to generate the wisdom? The next part, of course, is communication, and I think that is one area where we are lacking severely. Then the team play. It's a matter of team. It's a multidisciplinary interaction, and when we are in a team and different domain experts are there, it is to be given special importance, which we often neglect. So I think this, how to really make it how to be a valuable member of a multidisciplinary team. I mean, often it happens if a great expert comes and joins a team, and the sum, instead of adding up, actually reduces. That shouldn't happen. Then, of course, ethics. That's a very important area. Then commitment to professional excellence, leadership and mentorship, social accountability, scientific attitude, and of course, lifelong learning. I think all of you are here because you believe in the concept of lifelong learning, and that is what would be required. This National Digital Health Authority has now found a place in the National Health Policy, which was released this year only, earlier this year, in February. So the National Digital Authority is now part of the national policy that it will be set up to ensure the smooth digital health adoption throughout the country. It will develop the ecosystem set up to regulate, develop, and deploy digital health across the continuum of care. And everything comes here, whether it's mobile health, Internet of Things, and whatnot. This is a sort of overview of the proposed IHIP, which is going to be set up very shortly. As you can see, it will be linked to the Aadhaar database. There would be an health information exchange, and all the standards compliant modules would be hosted there. It can be exchanged, and all the stakeholders who are using the standard compliant thing, whether it's the insurance, healthcare providers, the citizen or the patient, the government health facilities, research academic facilities, policymakers, everyone can have access in different formats, and I think Milind will say more about it, because he's also, both Milind and Gaurav have been actively involved with the formation of the drafting of the bill for this. The only thing is, of course, I mean, standards, the good thing about it is there are so many of them. Of course, we need to choose what it is. So other than the EHR standards I talked of, we also have these M2M standards, the machine-to-machine standards, and that's going to play a very, very big role. We are having this IoT and smart cities, active assisted living, everywhere that would come into a big way. So harmonization of the standards, that's a very, very important thing, and that's something we really need to go into it. So at IIHMR Delhi, I mean, this is a society where we are one of the earliest. We have been doing courses on the self-management research, and I have joined very recently, and I would be very keen to take forward the work on standards. And I was talking with Gaurav Sundar yesterday, and I think we'll do collaboration, and not just us. I mean, I think many other educational institutes also would definitely do a good job in working together, making the standards easier to implement for all. Get new knowledge, because we often are known as downloaders rather than uploaders. We hardly generate new knowledge. I mean, that should not be. And I think this is a big role to play, and we are going to play. This is the EHR standards help desk in the National Health Portal. So those of you are familiar with it, nhp.gov.in, there's a EHR standards help desk where you can get all the EHR standards, the versions, standards at a glance, and the other relevant documents. And of course, the NRCES site is also there. So I think that brings to the end of my talk. Thank you.